Stream is live, it says.
Yes, we're live. Hello there. I'd like to welcome everybody
Okay.
to Let's Talk Fishing video podcast. My name is Jay Angel, and I'm going to be your podcaster for this evening. With me tonight, I have a guy from Central Michigan, Kalamazoo, actually. I love Michigan, guys. Michigan is one of my favorite states to fish. I spent so much of my young adult life there on Wordsmith Air Force Base, on Selfridge Air National Guard Base. So much fun. So much fun, Michigan, man. There's so many things you can do. But speaking of that, he also has a soft plastics company called Bayou. Without further ado, I give you Brian Bailiff. How you doing tonight, Brian?
I'm doing great, Jay. Thanks for having me on. How are you?
I'm doing very good. Guys, we're having some technical difficulties tonight, so we're going to have a little lag. Just please be patient with us. Man, Brian, you and I have talked so extensively about these soft plastic lures. Anybody who's watched my show before knows I love soft plastic lures. Man, why don't you tell us a little bit about Bayou?
Okay, well, we started it 3 years ago, and we improvised a Senko. We thought we could create a weedless Senko that you could rig wacky with octopus hooks already in it, and that you wouldn't even need a centralized hook to rig it wacky to go 100% weedless. So that's how we started. We don't produce them, but we did produce them, and they worked well. You could actually we built a harness. It was called a BRI harness, and then the rigging harness inside the Senko worm, and it just really super expensive to build. But we still can build them, and we still have some around. So that's how we got the start. And I came up with an idea of a spear and decoy, and I started to outsource, trying to find someone to build me a mold. And I started calling around. So I called Heath Hipple down in Texas, and he owns Bugs Jigs. He builds an incredible shrimp fly. Incredible. Probably the best that I've ever seen. It's amazing. So for you salmon guys, look up Bugs Jigs. They're incredible. And then he gave me Bill Pennington's phone number, and I called Bill Pennington, and the rest is history. We started with the Gulfstream Taddler, which is inch and a quarter long, and then we built the Techno Frog, and then we've designed, I think we've got 12 baits on our website, all custom designs, and just a plethora of others.
Man, that Techno Frog, I got to tell you. But first of all, the first thing I want to talk about is your new release, the Thang. Do you have any Thangs?
Yep. Can you see that?
Yes, I can.
Yep, that is the thing. So we pro staffed this all last summer, and just the bite on it. It was just, when fish them and find out. That's our motto, is fish them and find out, because they're built for you. And tell me if this doesn't generate one of the hardest strikes of your career. For whatever reason, this bait, like, is it a twitch bait? You can fish it on the bottom. Is it a soft? Well, yeah. Yeah, you can twitch it, and it does look fishy when you twitch. When you twitch it, it does look fishy, but you can fish the bottom of it because it'll float up. And can you build a freshwater clam that is effective? Is this a freshwater clam? It can be of various, like the idea behind it was that I caught a 4-pound bass. We were out at the lake and we were swimming, and I had some shiner minnows, just pike fishing or whatever. We just set them off on the shore, bank fishing, and we were swimming. And I ended up catching a 4-pound bass on a shiner, or on a sucker minnow. Excuse me, it wasn't a shiner; it was a sucker minnow. And it had a crawl of zebra mussels in the crawl of the fish. A whole clutch, not a crawl, at a clutch of zebra mussels in its crawl, and then here comes the thing. So it generates some serious strikes. Hardest strike that I've had in over a long, long time was generated on this bait.
I'm looking at
Say
this
that
thing. You can Texas rig that. You can Texas rig that. You can Carolina rig that. You could throw that on the back of a jig. I
Yep.
could punch that through the mats here in down south, the whole south. You could punch that from Texas all the way over to Florida, and I'm only talking about those states because that's as far as I fished. Man, you know, I could put that on a football head and throw it on rocks. I could throw that through the weed mats. There's so many things you could do with that.
An owner twist lock, any twist lock hook you can rig it with. My new thing, Jay, is before the weather gets too warm and before the frogs start chirping, is the free rig. That is to get a radius with the frog floating like it came up out of the mud. Not that I'm talking about the frog yet, but this on a free rig works very well as well. Texas rig, Texas hook.
Reminds me of yes, I would throw that out. And you could also throw that, just put that on a wide EWG, extra wide gap, and just throw that out. How much does that thing weigh? Like 3/8 of an ounce?
I'd have to weigh it. I think it's on our website. I've never weighed it. Probably, like in comparison. Yeah, probably a little less than 3/8. So I'd have to weigh it. I'm not sure what the weight of it is.
Well, but okay. So let's just say that thing is, man, that thing is heavy compared to other soft plastic lures. So you could cast that without a weight.
Yeah. Yep. You could. Okay. You could. And
that's what I wanted to tell.
And a buddy of mine the other day, he's down at Lake Fork, and he said he couldn't see the fish spawning. So making a long cast comes into play if you're fishing for big fish. We know that you don't want to knock them out of their beds or affect them. They spook. So you can cast it quite a ways. It's a good bait. I like fishing it. It's fun. It gets me back to when I was a kid, and this bait brings me right back to when I started, when the big scent craze, Berkeley and the scent craze, Berkeley Power Scents, and like I loved it, right? So this bait in a clam scent, or I just bought clam and sardine because we're doing a spear and decoy, but this bait, it's scented, it's anise, but a little extra scent on it just gets me back to when I was a kid and really loved to fish with it. You know what I mean? Like fall in love with fishing. Yeah, I love to fish it. So
I'm going to have to interrupt you here because we have quite a few comments. The first one is from Roy Widgeon, and Roy, man, I can't apologize enough to you. Roy is from USA Kayak Fishing Magazine, and he wanted to say that the thing looks interesting, and he wants to fish around and find that out. Actually, International Freshwater Fishing Hall of Famer Jim Grant, and also he is one of the best rod designers ever. He said that that's a great looking frog. I'm sure he's talking about this because I accidentally brought that up.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Well, that's Jim Grant. Jim Grant is just one class act. And also Cajun Rob, who I had on last night, was saying that the thing is a great looking bait. Thank you very much.
I really appreciate that.
He wants to try that thing.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, the confidence that we're building with it, the more you fish it, the more confident you get, the more fish you catch. It's fun to fish. It really is. It's a fun bait, and we just had fish it and find out, fellas, and tell me if it doesn't generate some hard strikes.
And guys,
Like
if you want,
I've had a couple strikes on it that were not just your average a bass inhaling it or hitting it good and really setting the hook, smacking it, like really bam, smacking it, like wow, what a hit, what a strike. Not even a hit, a strike. You know what I mean? As my pop-up would say, my granddad, who is an avid fisherman, what a strike. So
yes.
it generates strikes. It really does. It's a fun bait to fish. And thank you for the comment on the Techno Frog. The confidence that I've found with this one, this is a Ned frog. It's made to put right down in the gritty, and you can use it with an owner twist lock. That's what that rigging nose is for, or a JWD, and or free rigging.
That's the rigging nose. Look at that rigging nose. This is a hard plastic rigging nose. It's not going to break when you put that twist lock in it, like a lot of the lures do. But look at that detail on that thing. This is called a Techno Frog, guys. If you want to order one of these, it's at wmbayou.com. It's on the bottom left of the screen. But look at the way that those things just bounce. You know, so if you had this free rigged, and this is not designed to stay on top of the water either, guys.
No, it's not.
And those legs just get to going just like a real frog. Man, you couldn't throw this thing in the water down here.
We built this, Jay, up here because we thought we were missing the hibernation cycle. We thought there was a chance to use a frog before they started chirping when they were just about to come out of hibernation. We thought we could design a frog that, now if you can see that, that's on a 16th ounce owner twist lock, and you can take that and put the point of that hook right behind its head, and now it's 100% weedless. So that we designed it with the hibernation, like me and you talked about, Jay, when we were on the phone. The hibernation cycle doesn't affect you guys down in that warm weather as much as it does up here in Michigan. So when the frogs aren't chirping right before that water warms up, I thought we could design a bait where a frog kicked up out of the mud, whether it just be from current or whatever, and then it dislodged from its hibernation and couldn't get back because it's too cold to hibernate. So that's on the owner twist lock, and we designed it for thermoclines, target specific water depths, and the temperature of water with the hibernation cycle. And I absolutely love fishing it. Biggest one I've caught up here in Michigan on it, 7 pounds, personal best with a Techno Frog. 7 pounder. Yeah.
7 pounds in Michigan. That is a monster up there.
Yeah. It was a good fish, but it was spawned out. So that fish would have been really big if it wasn't, if it was full of spawn. That was in, I live in Allegan. What's that?
Okay. That'd have been an 8.5 pound bass if you'd have caught it a week and a half earlier.
Yeah, that's what like is you know how much
stomach, you know, geez.
And then this is the Techno Frog rigged on a JWD Ned rig, and you can make it stand right up at any depth of water and jig it. It's super fun. You can bury the point you can make it weedless. I put the point of the head or point of the hook right on top of the head, and I just let it ride right up there. But you can put the point right in it and make it weedless. I like the point of the hook to be exposed.
You know, I would want to use some lighter equipment just because that's the kind of fisherman I am. And I would free rig this with just an extra, maybe not even an extra wide gap, maybe just an offset worm hook.
And that's
and just throw it out there, let it sink a little bit. Just
yeah. I love it. I love it, Jay. That is my next big move with it is the free rig before the water gets warm. Kick it up, let that thing float and let it and twitch it just because the idea of it was that a frog dislodged from hibernation and now it can't. It's too cold for it to move adequately and try to catch an absolute monster with it. Right.
Well,
so this is
but if it's going like this, yeah, that's showing the fish that this frog, there's something wrong with this frog. It's failing, you know.
Yep.
That triggers a predatory response. They can't help themselves but to eat that thing, and they're going to be garfish and bowfin going after it down here.
Yeah, it's fun to fish. That's why it's called the Techno Frog. It was we designed it. Me and my son made a science project out of it. Royce, Phillip, and we bought a cadaver frog and took a Senko worm and snipped it and just put it underneath the cadaver frog and took pictures, measured it all out, and came up with that rigging nose. And this is, Jay, if you can see this, this is how you rig it backwards. Now,
backwards. You say backwards?
Backwards, rig it backwards, and then the forward facing sonar guys, which rig that backwards. Now it's backwards, and when you cast it out, it'll glide to the fish, and then you jig it backwards. Really a great bait for you forward facing sonar guys. Like it makes a totally different presentation fished backwards. The legs go absolutely crazy.
There's so many things you can do with this. You could put a little bit bigger hook on it and wacky rig it. There's endless possibilities of this thing, folks. WMBayou.com. WMBayou.com.
And we've got a couple top water frogs designed, and we don't know when we're going to produce them because we're so busy. We've got a musky lure coming out called the WM Bayou Hero, and then the Sidekick, and then we got a spear and decoy. So we don't know when we're going to do the top water things, but we've got them designed because this like you've said, this is not a top water frog. This frog is designed to put it right down into where you want to fish, and that's it backwards.
Well, let's think about fishing lures. You have a lot of top water stuff, you have a lot of bottom stuff, and not much stuff that really targets the center of the water column. And a lot of fish hang out in the center of the water column. So and also a lot of fish sit there and they look up, you know, and so if they see something that's on the center of the water column kind of struggling like it's going to die, they can't help but to come up and get it.
And that's that free rig with the range of motion on your line. Yeah, I've taken bullet weights, take some bullet weights and drill them out, and let the radius float up a little bit more and twitch it, and like you gotta put it where the fish are. That old adage, don't hunt where you think the deer are, hunt where the deer are. Yeah, sometimes you got to let it float up a little bit. Yeah. Where they're at.
Throw it out with monofilament line that floats anyways, you know.
Yeah. Well, you talk about light tackle and all that stuff. We used to do that when we were kids. We all got into light tackle, ultralights when we were 12, 13, before we jumped into the steelhead fishing. And I'm
from Michigan, man. 4-pound test on with a 12-foot long rod for steelhead back in the 80s. That was the thing.
I'm a 12-pound stren. I like trilene fishing line as well. Now on my musky rods and my pike rods, I've got braid, but I like 12-pound Stren is, I don't know. I've always been a trilene guy, but I don't think, I don't know that clear green Stren line is pretty hard to beat, but I'll use trilene as well.
And the next thing I'd like to talk about is the fat paddle, which is this, down here. This looks like something I would have used in the Great Lakes, this color.
That might be Green Ghost. It's hard for me. It's hard for me to see. That's hard for me to see, Jay, because on the screen it's got your it's hard to see. That looks like Natty. Is that a real blue?
These are two.
That looks like one of them looks like Natty Ice, and the other one looks like Green Ghost. Yeah, Natty Ice and Green Ghost. Those are both custom colors.
Look at how long that tail is, guys. I mean, when you're pulling this through, it's just going to thump, 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 thump. Then this is one of my favorite colors ever. This reminds me of the Kanemi baits, baby bass. It's not baby bass, but it's similar. And this color, I can't tell you how many back in the early 2000s when I was fishing bass tournaments, how many places I went to looking for something similar to this color that Kanemi baits made out. Then when I saw this color that these guys made, I went nuts. This is something else. This is a little, this bait right here is a little bit heavier than most baits. This would be another thing I would just free rig. I might even just nose hook this and just cast it out there and twitch it. So it's just going nuts,
I'll tell you what,
like a swing bait.
Bill Pennington, Jay, my partner with those things, we went from Tadler, Techno Frog, Trick Fin, and then I went right to designing topwater frogs. And Bill wanted to stay away from topwater frogs, and he branched over into doing some swim baits in that, and we kicked ideas around. I am not a swim bait fisherman. I'm not. I've never really bought any in the stores. Always looking at them. You know what I mean? Maybe I missed out on a lot of opportunities with them. That fat paddle really makes me like to fish it because it fits the I don't have one with me. I didn't bring one, but when you rig a jig to the front of it, it fits a jig. It marries a jig so good to the front of that bait that when you feel how that bait's designed, and in the front of it, it marries it so well together that it's fantastic. It's a fun bait to fish. I like throwing it down at the Allegan Dam for walleye, and you can catch some pike on it. You can catch all kinds of bass with it. Like I'm really.
I know where you're from.
Yeah, yeah.
I can completely sympathize why you don't like swim baits because you don't have any confidence in them because you've never used them. But when I moved on here, I started using swim baits and I started catching redfish and speckled trout on them. And I mean, nothing catches redfish and live shrimp. But anyways, very few artificial lures catch those fish better than swim baits. And now I have like all the confidence in the world on them. And that's what you catch fish on, is what you have confidence in.
Exactly. So, and that's such a wonderful point that Pennington, being down in Houston, Texas, that's his forte is kayak saltwater fishing, and speckled trout and redfish. It's what in the lax time that's incorporated it right on our website. It talks about saltwater fishing and everything else, and it's and I can't wait. That fishing lure right there and me have a date on the Detroit River. So we are gonna. That's where I want to take it. Like I'm hoping to go over there and go to work so I can do some muskie fishing and some big northern and some walleye. I should be over there already walleye fishing. Haven't went over there because we've been fishing walleye down in Toledo, the Maumee. getting ready to start bass fishing. I was going to go yesterday. I should have went yesterday because it was warm, and thrown that Techno Frog in that thing on a free rig, but I didn't go out, and now it's raining. So maybe soon as the weather comes around, then that's what I'll be doing, is throwing those two on the free rig. But that fat paddle right there, I love jigging it. I absolutely love it. And it's become one of the, down at the Allegan Dam here in Allegan, like those guys, they're phenomenal fishermen for one, and they catch all kinds of hog walleye.
Oh yeah,
big
there's
walleye.
some sticks there in Michigan.
I've seen 3 14-pounders this year come out of the Allegan Dam, and I think 2 of them got thrown back. One of them was kept. Just a giant walleye. So to take your own baits down there and then not fish them with spawn, not fish them with like a bead, take your own baits down there and try to fish in that arena is really fun. It's quite a challenge down there because of the snags and everything else. And I threw that quite a bit down there. And we've got a couple other ones that soon's walleye season. It's walleye season's not going on here in Michigan, but it's going on down in the Maumee. So as soon as walleye season kicks back in, it's going to be fun to chase a big one around with those baits. That gets, you probably don't have an FFF, our free fall fry, which is it's a paddle bait, a swim bait, but it's got a different 100% different tail. It's got a different tail on it. You guys hit the website and check it out. Tell us what you think. It's a phenomenal drop shot bait. And yeah, check them out. They're fun.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was just looking up the free fall fly. I couldn't, the free.
Yeah, it's hard to say, ain't it? Free. Yeah, FFF is what we call it.
It's hard to say.
It's hard to say. Free fall fry. Oh yeah. So just call it the FFF.
Free fall.
Yeah, drop shot that. That's a pretty good fishing lure.
Okay. Man. Man, that's great. Okay, well, it is 6:30 now. So do you have any shout outs you'd like to make?
Yeah, I'd like to thank
people, companies, organizations.
Yeah, I'd like to thank you first and foremost for having me on. This is my first live podcast. I'd like to thank Woods and Water, Dunham's, DNR Sports, Jay's Sporting Goods. There's too many people to list when it comes right to it. I'd like to thank Bill Pennington, my partner. And here's a little promo for Larry Walters, old school friend of Fred Trost here in Michigan, Fishing for Answers. Pick the book up. It's fantastic. It's a great reference book, especially when it comes to walleye. Larry Walters was a phenomenal, probably still is, walleye fisherman. And yeah, I'd like to thank Royce Phillip for helping me design the Techno Frog and my family. Well,
thank you very much. I would like to thank you, Brian, for coming on the Let's Talk Fishing podcast to talk to our listeners right here. Man, I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in to this podcast. I had a great time talking with Brian, who, the state of Michigan really is close to my heart. It really, truly does have some fish that are just next level. Man, guys, I encourage all of you to go to wmbayou.com. Just look through what they have available. That stuff. What do you have there?
This is our trick fin. It's a wounded frog or a couple minnows. It's a different styled lure. And I'd like to invite you up before we end this, Jay. I'd like to invite you up to we're going to do a fishing weekend with Woods and Water, and I'd like to invite you up here to Michigan to fish some natural private lakes and see how we do. We're trying to catch a double-digit bass up here. The state record I think is 12 pounds 9 ounces, and we're trying to at least break into the double digits.
Well, I'd like to break into the double digits. I live down here in the land of
Yeah.
gas, and
Yeah, me too.
I
Well,
still haven't caught one bigger than 7 pounds.
throw that
So,
frog, Jay. Throw
yeah, I'm
that
going to throw the
frog.
frog.
Throw the
First
frog and send
opportunity
us
I
some
get.
pictures. Yeah. And then
I
tell us
will.
and then tell us what color, if you got a specific color down there. I'd like to get I love Louisiana. I love it. Been down there on a couple hurricanes, and I love it. I absolutely love it. And tell us what color you need, and we'll design a custom color just for Louisiana.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Anyways, I'd like to thank everybody for watching the Let's Talk Fishing podcast. I'm Jay Angel with Brian Bailiff from WM Bayou Lures. And guys, I encourage you to go to wmbayou.com just to see what this company has available. They have some really innovative stuff. And with that, I'm going to end the podcast. Brian, please stick around. I'd like to talk to you for 2 minutes after the podcast.
Thank you, everybody.